This episode of the podcast is brought to you by Canna Health.
Hey cannabis consumers, have you ever consumed a cannabis product thinking it'll make you feel a certain way, but then it doesn't? Don't you wish you had a clear understanding of your own DNA so that you could make informed decisions about what type of cannabis products interact best with your system? Well, now you can with EndoDNA. EndoDNA is a simple DNA test that maps your entire endocannabinoid system and then matches that summary with a specific cannabinoid ratio and terpene profile that best aligns with your unique genotype. Imagine being armed with personal information when visiting a dispensary. You'll have the knowledge and power and capability to purchase products that best align with your genotype. Visit their website to purchase the EndoDNA Collection Kit and Endo Decoded Report at endodna.com/products and use the promo code CONNECT15 for a 20% discount. Again, that's endodna.com/products and use the promo code CONNECT15 for a 20% discount. The future of cannabinoid therapeutics is here with EndoDNA. Ron, welcome back to the podcast. How are you, man?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me back, Kevin.
Absolutely. We had a laugh before we started recording because you were, I think you were unsure if I was the same person without the beard now, right?
No, totally. I remember last time you had this big beard. So you're looking so clean cut these days.
Clean cut, and they got the baby face going on, man. But it's still me. So it's crazy though, because when I look back, I think it's over a year since we talked, and I want to start this episode by saying congratulations on the recent acquisition with Canopy Growth. That's huge news, and we're absolutely going to jump into that and talk about some key details of that deal. But before we do so, Ron, let's kind of give everyone an update, myself included, right? Like, it's been over a year since we last talked about Jetty extracts. So, what's all happened since we talked last, and what has led you to this moment where now you're being acquired by a major LP in Canada?
We spoke about this a little bit. It was a little over a year ago. At the time, we were getting really into our solventless product and production. Since that time, we've really gone heavy into our solventless product. And I feel like our thesis at the time was that solventless is a cleaner technology. It's a cleaner product. All of us really love it. It's going to be something that is going to be very high growth in a market that is not growing that much, which is California. And that seems to be proving to be true. So since last year, we've won a bunch of awards for our solventless vape product. We launched a 1 gram format in September and have seen growth nearly every month with that product. We're currently sitting at about 60% of the total category in solventless vape, and think that that's just a trend that's going to continue. So a big part of what we've been focused on is that product line, making sure people understand it, making sure that people have it available to buy. And I know that for Canopy, that was a huge part of what they saw in us was the innovation behind that, and the ability to bring that into a lot of other markets.
Let's dive into that. When you say, part of that, the objective there was having the end consumer understand it, right? So for those maybe listening for the first time, very briefly, talk about solventless and why it's so important.
We do all types of extraction. We started out using a CO2 extraction. We've moved to ethanol and then hydrocarbon. And now predominantly what we're doing is solventless. So in order to make concentrates and vape products, you have to extract the different cannabinoids and oils from the cannabis plant. And there's a bunch of different ways to do that. Most companies, most of the extraction is done using a solvent. There are ways to do it using just ice, water, heat, and pressure. And that's what we call solventless. What you get is a much cleaner product because it's never touched a chemical from the time it was harvested until the time you actually are consuming it. And what we're seeing in pretty much every industry is people want cleaner products. And we're seeing that now in the cannabis space as people are really migrating towards products that have never touched solvents. And it really gives the best kind of true essence and experience of what was in that plant.
Perfect. Yeah. And it's obvious that that was kind of a key motivating driver for Canopy growth in that acquisition. Jetty Extracts being one of the first brands to bring to market the vape free, free of fillers and cutting agents, like you mentioned. So, let's talk about some of the key details of the deal. How did it all go down? What are some of the terms? Yeah.
So what I'd say is that California is in a little bit of a state of disarray in a lot of ways. There's just a flurry of M&A activity. There's a lot of businesses that are not doing well, given how crippling the taxation and regulation is.
We talked about this last time, right? It hasn't gotten better.
It's got worse.
Wow.
So, they still think 75% of weed sold in California is through the illicit market. So the government's missing out on a massive amount of potential tax collection. But there's really no enforcement against the illicit market. And so they haven't really created an incentive for companies to come from the illicit market into the licensed market. But what that's led to is just a lot of businesses that are running out of money, and capital flow has stopped in a lot of ways into the industry. And so everyone's talking to everyone. Canopy spoke to probably almost every company in the state of California. We've spoken to most companies in the state of California and many in other markets. We really felt like, we've been doing pretty well. Jetty's been growing since we spoke. The market's been somewhat down, but we're up and our products are doing well. We're also fairly stable. We don't burn money. But really to get what our main goal is to get our products into more people's hands. We think we have really high quality products and we want to make those available to more people in California and beyond. And it became clear that the only way to do that would be to bring in a large capital partner. And that's what Canopy is. Canopy is backed by Constellation. They're huge believers in brands. Jetty, we focus on product, but really we are a brand. And, we believe brands are going to be very, very influential in the space over the coming years. Canopy shares that vision and wanted to bet on a team that knows how to build a brand, knows how to focus on product. And I give them some credit for coming into California at a time when a lot of investors and a lot of other businesses in the space are sort of avoiding the market. I think right now it's difficult, but over time, being a strong presence and brand in California is going to prove to be a winning formula.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, what you're saying makes sense. It seems like the only way at this point to expand and, like you said, have your product moved into other markets would be through acquisition, a large company that has, huge backing with, financial capital and resources to boot. And that's just, it's unfortunate though that California is in such disarray in that way, where the black market is literally competing, if not, surpassing the legal market at this point. Is there any hope of things getting turned around? Or, I mean, is there talks of reform? I think I saw something about Newsom talking about addressing the taxation in cannabis, but it was like a headline that I saw. I didn't really read into it. And so what's going on there?
Well, I'm an optimist and there's always hope. So there will be reform. It comes incrementally. California doesn't move very quickly in a lot of ways. They're going to be most likely removing the cultivation tax, which is a huge burden on manufacturers and brands. Simplifying tax collection to the point of retail. Those are things that are being discussed and I think will be very helpful. Over time, we hope to see more meaningful reform. And again, I think we will. It's just, how many businesses are going to actually be able to survive until that point. And again, that was part of the calculus was, we want to be around, we want to be strong. This deal gave us, we now have $20 million on our balance sheet with no debt, which makes us one of the best capitalized companies in the state. And that's more money than we have raised since inception in 2013. So it just brings us into a very different stage of the industry and of the cycle of this business. And we are going to be looking to bring our products into other markets over the next couple of years.
Well, let's dive into that further. I mean, you mentioned a little bit about your business strategy now with 20 million on the balance sheet. How does that align with Canopy Growth's corporate strategy?
So Canopy and Constellation they understand brands. They've done very well. Constellation's done very well in the beer, wine, spirit space. They own Corona, Modelo, Pacifico, some brands you may know. And they, as a company, made a bet that the growth over the next decade for them is going to come from cannabis. And they see Jetty and Wana, who Canopy made a similar deal with, as big potential future growth drivers for the business. So there's so many different areas you can look, and I think that most of the focus has been on cultivation and on retail, and brands you hear people talking about all the time, but it's not an area that's really received as much attention. And I think that's going to change over the coming years. And you see it in every industry. Brands matter. Brands have strength. That's where you create value and where you really create that connection with consumers, where you create that repeat buyer experience. And we share that vision with Canopy. So that's kind of what they see, and they wanted us to help them, build out California, launch some other brands, likely do some M&A here, and then bring Jetty, which is a strong California brand, into other markets.
That's going to be exciting. Yeah, absolutely. And so with the new capital raise, specifically, how are you planning to reinvest that money into Jetty, to, like you said, expand that footprint and get your product, your renowned vape products into other markets?
So we're going to do it very prudently. We've been around for a while and have faced extinction events now multiple times, and have watched a lot of companies raise a lot of money and spend a lot of money. And there's a lot of ways to spend money in this business. So our first priority is California. We're going to grow our business here. We're building up our team. We're going to be launching some new products under the Jetty brand, and that is going to continually be our number one focus. I'd say number two is we're looking at bringing Jetty into Canada with Canopy, and we're also looking at some opportunities in New York and New Jersey, which we think are going to be really, really great markets. I'm also from New Jersey. My partners are from New York, so we have a lot of relationships and affinity for those markets. I'm actually in New Jersey right now. And third is M&A. We're going to be looking selectively at some M&A with other brands, likely in California.
Awesome. That's exciting. And, one last question to kind of wrap this part of the conversation up. And that's, you talked about Canopy Growth, owning Constellation brands, right? And so, or is it the other way around? Sorry.
Flip that
Right.
around.
Yeah, that's right. Right. Constellation owning Canopy. So my question is, do you foresee Jetty getting into the, like cannabis infused beverage space? Or, I mean, is it going to be your core competency only, which is vape category? I mean, where do you kind of plan on the future evolution of your product line?
It's really tough to say. I think in this space, making predictions further out than a quarter is nearly impossible. The market moves really quick, but we're an extract company, so we have collaborated with some beverage brands, some beer brands, with some of our terpenes. I think that on the edibles side and on the beverage side, it may be a different brand than Jetty. but I absolutely see that the beverage and edible side is something that we will, as an organization, have exposure to.
Gotcha. Perfect. And then I guess, the other thing that I'd like to talk about is just kind of the nitty gritty of the actual agreement, right? So from my understanding, it's structured as two separate option agreements. So you want to talk a little bit about those option agreements and how this whole deal is going to work and play out?
Sure. So Canopy has bought an option to buy 75% of Jetty, and they've paid in full for that with basically in the full consideration for that purchase. And they also have an option to buy the remaining 25% at a future date, at a future fair market value. Until that time, we maintain control of the business. Canopy, due to federal laws, is not allowed to control the business. So we're fully independently operated. We're continuing to run the business on a day-to-day basis with the same team that we've built here in California. I think it'll be somewhere between most likely 2 to 5 years, at which point there's some federal change that Canopy deems worthy of actually making the full purchase of the company. And at that point, we would integrate together with them and likely with Constellation. But until then, we're going to operate as a standalone, based in California, focused on our brand. From an operational standpoint, the only thing that's changing is we actually have resources to grow the business.
I was gonna say, like, it doesn't get much better than that, right? I mean, you've got resources, and you still get to keep management in the same type of direction for now. I mean, nothing really changes on that front.
I mean, it was kind of a dream scenario for us. I'm very happy they gave us a really fair deal. It was great for our shareholders. It's great for myself and my co-founders. It's great for our staff. I think this creates a lot of opportunity for people throughout Jetty to, grow their careers, to have exposure to a bigger growing business, to have exposure to other markets and potentially other products and brands. So, our whole team's really excited about it. The timing in the market, as we discussed, is actually great as well, given that the market is there's just not a lot of capital. Really focus on execution, which is what we've been focused on basically for the last 9 years, but to do it from a stronger position.
I was going to ask you, I mean, you co-founded the company in 2013. I mean, would you ever have thought that you'd be at this point? Or, I mean, this was part of the plan? I mean, what are you feeling right now on a personal level?
From a personal standpoint, I couldn't be happier. I wouldn't say this is exactly how I drew it up, but it's been almost 9 years and we've been grinding away. It's been the most fun experience of my life. The fact that I can still kind of stay in control with my partners and my co-founders and the team that we've built, it's just such a great opportunity. And the fact that Canopy is betting on us is just validating the decisions we've made and kind of the company we've built. So yeah, we're just super pumped about where we're at and what's in front of us.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely does sound like the dream scenario, man. And I'm super happy for you guys. I mean, we talked over a year ago, and obviously you guys were heads down, focused on, continuing to build out and sell your, high quality vape. I live rosin, which I tried, man, when I was in California, and I got to tell you, I haven't tried anything like it. So, you guys are definitely doing it right, and it shows with this recent acquisition. So again, congratulations. I want to wish you the best of luck in this new chapter. And before we go, I want to leave you the floor, Ron. Like, if there's anything top of mind or last words that you want to leave the audience with, go ahead.
Well, Kevin, great to see you again, and appreciate you having me on. I think the main thing is just buy legal weed. Wherever you are. There's a lot of licensed operators. There's a lot that are unlicensed. support the legal market so that companies like Jetty can get high quality products out to more people. And that's where I see this going over time.
Awesome, man. Well, really appreciate it. Really enjoyed seeing you again. And hey, maybe we'll do it again in a year when you guys are have expanded into the Canadian market and you're talking about East Coast expansion. And yeah, let's catch up then.
Would love to do that.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much again, and thank you all for listening. Bye.
Thank you.